Thank you very much, councillors, the clergy, the press, members of staff. A warm welcome to you, and I declare open the April meeting of Temora Shire Council, and in doing so, I advise that this meeting is being recorded and will be placed on Temora Shire Council's webpage for public information. All present today, a reminder that whilst we're speaking, that we agree that our views and comments are being recorded and published. And we're also reminded that if or when we're speaking, that we're to be respectful of others and of course use the appropriate language. Temora Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures during this council meeting. The acknowledgement of country. As we begin our meeting today, Temora Shire Council acknowledge the traditional owners of Temora Shire's land and waters, the Wiradjuri people. We acknowledge their continued connection to country and culture, and we pay our heartfelt respects to elders both past and present, acknowledging their contribution to the Temora Shire community, a place we all call home. And we have our opening prayer, which is in the hands of Reverend Derek Yu of St Andrew's Presbyterian Church. Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you for the invitation to attend your meeting in prayer. And so let us bow our heads and let us pray. Gracious, loving Heavenly Father, thank you that you love us, you care, and you hear our prayers. Our hearts grieve over the tragedy that occurred in Bondi, Westfield. Please be with all the victims, their families, and everyone impacted by what has happened. We especially pray for the families of those who have lost loved ones. Comfort them in their grief. Surround them with your love. In our local community, thank you for Dr. Parry Homes and the proposed development at Apollo Place. We pray that it would go a long way in providing greater access to affordable accommodation for the elderly and retirees in Temora. Please give the committee wisdom as they meet together and make decisions on what will most benefit our community. In light of Anzac Day, we remember and give thanks for the sacrifice of all those who have died serving us and our country. Thank you for the freedoms we are able to experience because of their sacrifice and commitment to our nation. We pray for the men and women serving in the Australian Defence Force, here in Australia and overseas. Please keep them safe. Be with their families when they are absent from home. We give you thanks for our councillors and all council staff. Thank you for the way they serve our community. Give our councillors wisdom to make the best decisions possible for the good of our community. Be over all the discussions and outcomes today. Help our councillors and council staff govern in a manner worthy of the responsibility they have been entrusted. Thank you that you hear our prayers. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. Beautiful, beautiful words and a great way to start our meeting today. Thank you. Councillor Good, we bid you welcome. No, you're not late. You're only by a minute or two. Councillors, apologies. We've received one from Councillor McLaren. No further apologies, Madam General Manager. No, it was someone moved that apology is approved. Councillor Judd, Councillor Reinhold moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Declaration of any interest at this time, councillors. Councillor Good.
I declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 8.2.
Thanks, Councillor Good. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a pecuniary interest in the assets and operations section, and also one in the pink pages when we get to that as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Oliver.
Mr. Mayor,
Director of Environmental Services.
I declare a pecuniary interest in 8.2, Executive Member of the Temora Rugby Union Club.
Thank you. Any further declarations at this time? Councillor Judd.
Declare an interest in letter and correspondence from Eric Park Community Projects.
Thanks, Councillor Judd. No further at this time. And just remember you can raise it just prior to the issue coming up as well if you haven't thought of it now. Thank you very much, councillors. We don't have any public presentations. We go to confirmation of the minutes of the March meeting, Temora Shire Council. Is someone prepared to move that they're received as a true and correct record? Thank you, Councillor Good. Seconder for the motion, please. Thank you, Councillor Bushell. Moved, seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you. Councillors, we now go to matters arising from the last minutes. Madam General Manager, any matters arising, please?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No, there isn't.
Oh, thank you. Councillors, we do not have a mayoral minute for this meeting, so we go straight to page 11, which is in your white papers, the committee reports. Minutes of the Council's Traffic Committee meeting. I was the chairman, and if someone could please move that the report is received. Councillor Oliver, thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. On the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, you see the report and its recommendations there for you to consider. Any comments or questions? Councillor Judd.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I attended the Traffic Committee meetings, observer, and I was very pleased to see that in item 4.2 and 4.4 that finally some action's been taken on improving safety signage. Not exactly what we were after, but it's better than what was getting just rejected before, so it's good to see. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Judd, and thank you for making time to accept our invitation to come and address the Traffic Committee. I think the committee found it very informative, so thank you. Well, councillors, you have the Temora Shire Council's Traffic Committee report and recommendations. Is someone prepared to move them, or is there an alternate resolution? Councillor Good, thank you. Councillor Good, Councillor Oliver moved, seconded that the Traffic Committee report and recommendations be approved. Further discussion? There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you very much. Let's go to page 25, the minutes of Assets and Operations Committee, and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, is the chairman, and Councillor Oliver has vacated the chamber,
As will I.
as has the Director of Environmental Services. So they've vacated the chamber. The Deputy Mayor.
Mr Mayor, I'll move the report be received.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor's moved, the report is received. Seconded. Councillor Judd moved. Seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. The Deputy Mayor, do you have any items you wish to highlight to Council?
No, Mr Mayor.
No. Thank you. Councillors, reports there for your consideration with its recommendations. Someone prepared to move the report and recommendations? Thank you, Councillor Good. Is there a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Moved and seconded. Further discussion? If there's no further discussion, I will therefore put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillor Reinhold, would you mind calling back the gentleman? Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Reinhold, and welcome back to the chamber, Councillor Oliver, and Director of Environmental Services. During your temporary absence, Council has unanimously resolved to adopt the report and recommendations of the Assets and Operations Committee meeting. Thank you. Let's go over to page 86, the delegates' reports. Do we have any delegates' reports, please? Just while you're thinking, no, we'll go to Councillor Reinhold.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I went to the Embrace Festival, which was put on at the Town Hall due to the weather report. And I just would like to say a great thank you to Shantaine Ward and Lauren Carr for I mean, they would have had it all organised for the railway, and then the last minute it's at the town hall. So under the circumstances, they did a great job and a great crowd. It was a really good day. So just like to say thank you to them. And just a little plug for the Temora Art Centre. We have the National Gallery of Australia coming for a special installation on the 1st of June. So I won't say any more, but just keep your ear to the ground. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Thank you very much for that. And yes, Council endorses your remarks in relation to the staff members that you mentioned for the Embrace Festival, and thank the community for supporting it. Further delegates' reports. Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I attended the Sister City Committee. This year is 35 years since signing of the Sister City agreement with the Uzumaki in Japan. Unfortunately, we've been trying to get some response from the Uzumaki with little luck. And it may be that the Sister City Committee may fold because there's no active Sister City relationship. So I just thought I'd let the councillors know that, unfortunately.
Yeah, thanks very much, Councillor Good. And we know that you, as the chairman of that committee, was quite enthusiastic with the team that you built around you, and very disappointing because I know you and I have tried to reach out to the mayor and others of Uzumaki, and for at least 2 years now, and we haven't received any response, which is so disappointing, and that's why we just hope that they're going okay. But I certainly, I think council would understand if it sort of deflates some of the enthusiasm of your committee, Councillor Good. But thank you for informing us, and I know you'll keep us updated. So thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I attended the function along with the General Manager and the Director of Environmental Services last week, and I'm struggling to remember the name of it, but it was to do with attracting people from Sydney to, or immigrants from Sydney or to Temora Shire. And it's I think there's Leighton and there's 4 towns, 4 shires involved. Anyway, out of it, Temora received a award for attracting 2 people to the Shire. But I can't remember what was. Embrace. Was it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor, for that reflection. We also, just to advise that tomorrow the General Manager and I will be attending the REROC board meeting, and we have the LGNSW President, Councillor Turley, who will be addressing us, and we'll also have our OLG Engagement Officer, Mr Templeton, updating us on, you'll be pleased to know, councillors, that it's looking like we'll have some draft legislation that Minister Honig, our local government minister for New South Wales, is drafting up in relation to those councils wishing to get out of a JO may be able to do so within the provisions of the Act and amendments associated. So we'll have an update on that tomorrow, and we'll inform council of that. And of course, we continue, the General Manager and I have been assisting with the creation, of course, of the CEO job description for REROC, because we've never had one before, would you believe, since it's been formed. It's just remarkable, the whole new experience for everybody, certainly in REROC organisation. But so that's certainly nearing completion, and we've got a bit of a timeline for that, which we're sort of looking at advertising July and shortlisting early August, and then some interviews we're looking at late August at this stage. And have the new CEO ready to be commenced duties, thinking as soon as possible, but the current CEO will finish technically on the 31st of December. So that's just for your information. Of course, the General Manager and I will be at the Country Mayors Association meeting on the 10th of May in Sydney, and the day before is the LGNSW Rural Regional Summit. So that will be held the day before as well. And just lastly, in terms of delegates' reports, for the first occasion since I've been Mayor, I was able to attend the Charles Sturt University graduation ceremony yesterday. And I have to tell you, I know the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, you've attended. I think Councillor Judd, you've been several times. But I have to say, I found it, ours was for graduating nurses and paramedics and doctors. And it was one of the most stirring and heart-rendering and special occasions that I've attended. I didn't know what to expect, but how much it meant to those graduates, their family, friends and supporters. It was, it was phenomenal. So I considered it a special privilege to have been in attendance, albeit only wearing the mayoral chains, not academic robes, as I was asked if I'd like to wear, but I declined for obvious reasons. But so I just wanted to share that it was a very significant occasion, and it was probably a little bit cheeky, but we were afterwards trying to recruit some of those new graduates to Temora Shire, Temora District Hospital. But anyway, we'll see what comes of that. Anyway, that's the delegates' reports. Nothing further. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a report from the activities at the railway station over recent times. We've had over 150 people arrive by train in the last week or a fortnight or so, and we've had visits from Transport Heritage. Alex Christopher, who's in charge of that, she came and done an inspection of the museum to see what artefacts we had and the stuff that we have on loan from them, and also we had a entourage of people from UGL, the new contractors, and they've familiarised themselves with the buildings and the state of things up there at the moment. And I had to write up a report for Lisa Hibbard. She's based in Orange, and she wanted to know how we operate and how volunteers' names and railway experience and all that sort of stuff. So it's good that they've come to have a look. We have been sort of wanting them to come and visit the place and have a bit of an inspection, because we've got a few things that we need to address, so we'll see how we go with that. So yeah, but it's all good, so everything's happening. So
yeah, that's great. Thanks, Councillor Oliver. It's terrific that what's been achieved over the years at the Railway Museum. I think you and your team can be mighty proud, I would have thought. Just lastly, Councillor, before we proceed, delegates' reports, the General Manager and I attended the Goldenfields Water County Council board round table, and Deputy Mayor Councillor Sinclair, of course, is the board member representing Temora Shire. And Mr Deputy Mayor, just again to thank you publicly in the chamber for that opportunity. I think it's great for all mayors and general managers to have been invited to have a round table with you and your fellow board members and your senior staff, and we certainly learnt a great deal and believe it was worthwhile, and I think it shows a tremendous sign of respect from your board to your constituent councils that you're reaching out to us and wanting to bring councils along the journey. So thank you very much. It was good tucker too, I think you'd say. So thank you very much. Nothing further for delegates' reports. If not, then let us proceed to none other than page 87 for the Mayor's report for the month of March. There's a recommendation on page 89 that the Mayor's report be noted. Thank you, Councillor Good. Seconded, Councillor Bushwell. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Discussion? There's no discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, a motion please to receive staff reports. Thank you, Councillor Judd. Councillor Good, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Clearly the motion carried. Thank you. Over to page 91, General Manager's Report, 12.1, Calendar of Events. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As written, I'll take any questions as required. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any comments or questions in relation to calendar of events? If not, there's a recommendation there that the events be noted. Thank you, Councillor Good. Seconded, Councillor Oliver. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Discussion. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you. Let's go to page 92, 12.2, the seals for April. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As written.
Thank you. There's the report there in relation to the seals. There's 3 that are required to be affixed, and the General Manager has a recommendation that Council endorse the seal for those particular documents. Councillor Bushell, you've moved that way. Seconded, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Sinclair moved. Seconded. Discussion. There's no discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Over to page 93, 12.3, the operational plan for Q3 review. The General Manager. Whoa.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We have the third quarter of the operational plan review documented. If there's any questions, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. Councillors, any comments or any questions in relation to the Q3 review? Just for your information, that on page 105 of the business paper with the walk and talk tour, as you know, the Deputy Mayor, General Manager and I covered as much territory as we could. We've still got to finish, we've got a date, the General Manager and I, to finish Hoskin Street, and then the Deputy Mayor and I are looking at the industrial estate, I think when the crop's in. So we are getting there, and then we'll have a report to Council based on those findings. But it certainly is a really worthwhile and appreciated, I think, project, well, what do we call it, undertaking that Council do in that regard. They appreciate us reaching out as a Council. And a lot of encouraging comments with some good suggestions too. Anything further in the operational plan review? If not, there is a recommendation that Q3 review be noted, or an alternate. Councillor Reinhold, moving the recommendation. Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Good. Thank you very much. Moved, seconded. Discussion. No further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Thank you. Madam General Manager, do you have any urgent, late business?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No, I don't.
No, thank you. Councillors, we go over to page 171, Engineering Services Department report, and we don't have anything to report at this time, but we know that the engineering asset manager is certainly under the pump and is doing very well thus far from what we understand. So thank you, Mr Manager. Let's go over to page 172, Environmental Services Department report, 14.1, subdivision, the Director.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. This report is a planning report prepared by the Town Planner. It discusses the 28-lot subdivision proposed for the Burley Griffin Way. The report summarises the proposal, explains the exhibition period, summarises submissions and the responses from the applicant. And based on these considerations, we're recommending approval, subject to 52 conditions, and they start on page 183.
Thank you, Mr Director, and we thank you and our Town Planner, Mrs Golder, for the thorough manner in which this report is presented to Council. We did have a bit of a computer glitch, councillors, as you have been advised, in relation to the recommendation, but you should have that loose leaf page on your desks that have the recommendation for you to consider. The report is open for comment, for discussion. Councillor Irvine.
It's interesting to see that the proponents of this development have identified, or the majority of the blocks are in that 1 hectare size, which is about 2.5 acres ballpark, which is about half of what are in the original Bundawarra subdivision, which a lot of the owners have already chopped up, and in the Rosella Street subdivision, which they're in the process of chopping up. So it tends to, the conversion of these blocks from 5 acre back to 2.5 at a later date tends to create all these funny little access issues, and it just seems to be a very, well, what would you say, unorganised way to go about it. So I've got a lot more, well, this certainly seems like it targets the market in that respect, because people are fundamentally building that way. I note that there's no sewer access out there. I think it's all on-site wastewater disposal. There should be no issues in that space if it's all done with the proper setup. There's good free draining soils up there and no real heavy clay. The only issue I think is that access onto Burley Griffin Way, but I think Transport for New South Wales have dealt with that fundamentally. I suppose there's one difference between that and perhaps the entrance into Rosella Street, but Rosella Street's back inside a different speed zone, so it's less affected. I don't know whether the speed zones will be changed once this subdivision's in place, but I suppose that's I haven't read through the detail to see if that's going to be the case, but I think that Transport for New South Wales road plan looks good. The block layout looks sensible. Yeah, I can't see any problems. Other than just some details on that easement, please, from perhaps the Director of Environmental Services.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. The Director of Environmental Services.
That's the easement to drain water. We just wanted to make sure that sort of flow paths identified, so that if there's any work needs to be done in the future, that council has benefit of the access to that easement.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to move the recommendation. Thank you. I've thoroughly read the report and
thank
happy with
you.
the conditions.
Councillor Bushell is moving the adoption of the recommendation, that being council approved development application 1-2024, subject to conditions. And is there a seconder for the motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Good. Moved, seconded, discussion, further discussion. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It might be in this report, I might have missed it. At Delavan Street, is it a sealed road in that particular area? Because I'm worried about some dust issues later on down the track, and I'm sure they will raise their heads. And the only other concern that I have, and I'm quite happy to support the development as it is, but we seem to be boxing ourselves in a little bit in the parameters of town for future development, and that may be 50 or so years away yet. But that's something I think we need to have some consideration for, perhaps another master plan, perhaps for these sort of things. But yeah, they're the only two concerns that I have, particularly the dust. So,
thanks, Councillor Oliver. I'm going to go to the Director of Environmental Services to respond, Councillor Oliver. The Director.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. This has been zoned since 1987, so it was sort of, it's not a new zoning, it's the minimum lot size is a new zoning, as Councillor, new minimum lot size is a new requirement that was put on back in 2010. Delavan Street, part of it is unsealed. This development requires that to be sealed.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Well, it's a very detailed report, and we can be forgiven for missing the odd point. Further discussion, Councillor Irvine?
Yeah, just another further question to the director. So I haven't had a chance to look into this deeply, but it's a condition that they do those works on Burley Griffin Way.
The director?
Yes, that's right. The conditions that were the general terms of approval that were raised by RMS will form part of the consent.
Thank you. Well, there being no further discussion, councillors, I'm going to put the motion to you, and that is on the motion of Councillor Bushell and Councillor Good that the recommendation be adopted, and that is to approve it. Councillor. Yes, that's right, and I will ask councillors to raise their hand. You're very enthusiastic, Councillor Good. So all those of that opinion, please raise your hands. Thank you. To the contrary, no. Declare that the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. And thank you again, Mr Director and Madam Town Planner, for your efforts. Let's go over anything of an urgent late nature, Mr Director?
Nothing, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Let's go to page 201, correspondence 16.1, Area Park Projects Committee. And I beg your pardon. I got excited, Councillor Judd. Thank you. We're on a roll. Wondered what she had up. Thank you. My apologies, Councillor. Page 198. The Administration Finance Department report, 15.1, accounting for RFS assets. The Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the report's as written. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Madam Director. Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation, and I can see why you wanted to go past it.
Thank you, Councillor Bushell. Councillor Good has seconded the motion, and the recommendation that is that Council refuse to perform a stocktake and condition assessment of RFS assets, continuing to take the stance of not recognising RFS assets in the financial statements, and further, that Council will accept a qualified audit opinion on future financial statements in relation to the accounting for RFS assets. Moved and seconded. Further discussion. I go to Councillor Irvine.
Question to the director: has there been any modelling done on the impact on council's budget if the council are forced to recognise these assets?
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. The director.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the depreciation expense would be in the vicinity of close to $300,000, which would hit our P&L, and rough figures for the value of the red fleet is approximately $9 million.
Thank you. I think more broadly there's a principle of the matter that we have as a council, zero control, as we all are aware. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just the only question I have is other councillors still standing firm? How many have opted out at this point in time? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. My understanding is that we did reach a high of around 60 plus councils, and I think we're now down to 32. The director.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. So I think for 2023 there was about 32 councils who received qualified audit opinions. However, that doesn't mean that there's only 32 councils who didn't recognise their RFS assets. So if you conduct a stocktake and the value of your RFS assets is deemed to be immaterial, then you can not recognise the assets and not receive a qualified audit opinion because it's not material. But for a small rural council like us, the value of those assets would almost certainly be material. So if we did the stocktake and still didn't recognise them, we'd still get a qualified audit opinion.
Thanks, Madam Director. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Councillors, I've certainly, my time on council, I've been very proud of the strong position that we've taken. We haven't wavered in that view, and I think the Minister for Local Government is working with emergency services and others within New South Wales Parliament to try and see what can be done about this issue, because they realise that there's serious concerns. Councillor Irvine.
To that end, the Minister is fairly adamant that he believes that it's justified, particularly if you reference his comments on this at budget estimates in November. he was certainly fairly adamant that the Red Fleet stuff needs to be recorded on council's books.
Well, that's what he said at that time, Councillor Irvine, and of course, as you know, time passes, and at the recent board meeting in Wagga with Rerock, there was stark evidence that he was presented with, and he asked that be provided to him very, very swiftly, which I was surprised that he hadn't received evidence prior to that point. So there is a genuine desire to wish to assist in that space. If you see the wording of the changes in relation to that particular code, they're suggesting should, and that to me doesn't say must. So, no further discussion. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Councillors, anything of an urgent late nature, Madam Director?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Now we go to page 201, correspondence 16.1, the Area Park Community Projects. Councillor Judd's like a jack in the box, but thank you, Councillor Judd. Has vacated the chamber. And we go now to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We received correspondence from Area Park Community Projects Op Shop requesting consideration for a rates rebate, and we have a recommendation there for Council's consideration.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. Councillor Good.
I move the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Good is moving the recommendation, councillors, and for those listening, that it does say that council provide a donation equivalent to 25% of the general rates for the second glance op shop at Area Park, and further that council include an action in future iterations of the operational plan to provide for a rate rebate of 25% of general rates each year upon request from the committee. Seconded, Councillor Bushell. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Discussion. No discussion. I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Discussion. Councillor Bushell.
I did have one question, sorry, thank you, Mr Mayor. So does that mean they don't have to write to us anymore?
Well, if this recommendation is passed, it's been moved and seconded, it says upon request. The Director...
Then it won't be minted with us?
Admin and Finance.
Great.
Clarity.
Through you, Mr Mayor, so that the resolution is worded to the effect that the committee would still need to make a request, but it wouldn't need to come to council.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. A discussion, Councillor Irvine?
Yeah, and it won't be considered in part of the donations budget. I'd imagine that'll be the case.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. The Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor, it would come out of the donations budget.
Okay, thank you. With no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Oliver. No, that's all right. You're just skinning your teeth. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Welcome back to the chamber, Councillor Judd. During your temporary absence, Council considered the report 16.1, and the recommendation was unanimously adopted on the motion of Councillor Good and Councillor Bushell. Thank you. Nothing of an urgent late nature in terms of correspondence, Madam General Manager?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, over to page 203. We have nil business with notice, nil notices of motion, and urgent business without notice. Any urgent business without notice from councillors? No. Thank you. Councillors, page 204. Motion, please, to receive the councillors' information paper. Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair. Moved and seconded. Bloody spider. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, any items from the information paper that you wish to highlight? comment on? No, nothing. Councillor Oliver.
Just one question, Rosina Street, where's that?
Rosina Street.
Yeah.
The Director of Environmental Services, are you aware? Yeah. The Director?
That's off the Nowring School Road.
Named after Mr. Rosina. Yeah, thank you. The General Manager. Sorry, the Director of Administration and Finance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to highlight to councillors the circular that was received from the Office of Local Government. It's on page 251 of your business paper, and it's talking about the returns of interest. So after receipt of that letter, I had a look at our recent declarations, and there are several staff and councillors who are not answering every question. So just pointing out that leaving it blank or just putting a line through is not an acceptable response. So you need to either put not applicable or something to that effect in the space, just to point that out to councillors.
Thank you, Madam Director. A good reminder for all of us. Councillors, anything further of the information paper? If not, in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act 1993, I advise that there are several matters that are deemed confidential, and accordingly I require a motion to have these matters considered, so we may go into closed committee of the whole. Thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, has moved that way. Seconded, Councillor Reinhold. Moved, seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Welcome back, Councillor Oliver. During your temporary absence, Council resolved unanimously to adopt the recommendation in relation to Report 21.3, Deboo Street Master Plan, and have also since moved, and I apologise for not calling you in earlier, have adopted the motions, the reports rather, of 21.1, 21.2 and 21.3, and to move those motions into open council. And I also ask for a motion to proceed out of closed session and back into open. And now I'm calling on the General Manager to read the resolutions from Committee of the Whole into open. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In relation to the minutes of the Assets and Operations Committee held on the 9th of April 2024, it was resolved that the reports be received, and that was carried. It was resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted. In relation to the General Manager's informal performance review, it was resolved that the General Manager's informal performance review be noted. In relation to the Deboo Street Master Plan, it was resolved that Council engage Regal to conduct the Deboo Street Master Plan project. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam General Manager. We asked for a resolution to adopt these. Yeah. So, councillors, I'd now ask for a resolution to formally adopt the closed session resolutions into open. Thank you, Councillor Good. Seconded for the motion, Councillor Reinhold. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. So, councillors, I now ask for a motion in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act 1993. I advise that there is a confidential matter to be considered by the Committee of the Whole, and to have that matter considered, I require a motion for us to go back into closed session. Thank you, Councillor Judd. Councillor Good. Moved. Seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried.
Okay, thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. While we're in closed Committee of the Whole, the following was resolved. It was resolved that Council, number one, under section 440G of the Local Government Act 1993 and under the provisions of 7.37C, 7.46, 7.58C and 7.59 of the Procedures for the Administration of the Code of Conduct officially and formally censure and refer to the Office of Local Government Councillor Anthony Irvine for further action under the misconduct provisions of the Local Government Act in relation to an email that Councillor Irvine sent on 4th of August 2023, which was found to be in breach of the following clauses of the Code of Conduct by an independent investigator. Clause 3.1A of the Code, in that the email on the 4th of August 2023 is likely to have brought the Council and Council officials into disrepute. Clause 3.1B of the Code, in that the email on the 4th of August 2023 did not represent accurately, fairly or impartially the decisions or action of Council officers. Clause 3.1G and E of the Code, in that the email on the 4th of August 2023 could be considered intimidatory and constitute a harassment. 2. Under section 440G of the Local Government Act 1993 and under the provisions of 7.37B and 7.46 and 7.58B and 7.59 of the Procedures for the Administration of the Code of Conduct officially and formally censure Councillor Anthony Irvine in relation to Facebook posts on the 22nd of August 2023 on Councillor Irvine's Stand Up for Temora Facebook page, which was found to be in breach of Council's social media policy and the following Code of Conduct clauses by an independent investigator. A. Clause 3.1A of the Code, in that the Facebook post is likely to have brought the Council into disrepute. B. Clause 3.1B of the Code, in that the Facebook post did not represent accurately, fairly or impartially the decisions and reasoning of the councillors. Further, that he is acting in breach of Council's social media policy. C. Clause 3.1E and G of the Code, in that the Facebook posts of the 22nd of August 2023 being made publicly could be considered intimidatory and constitute harassment. And further, that the following be noted. 3. The General Manager seek a voluntary undertaking from Councillor Irvine to ensure his Facebook page, Stand Up for Temora, complies with Council's social media policy, in particular that its house rules and moderation policies are effective. 4. The General Manager seek a voluntary undertaking from Councillor Irvine that he will remove the post the subject of the investigation. 5. The General Manager counsel and provide appropriate support and guidance to Councillor Irvine in respect to complying with Council's media and social media policies. 6. That the General Manager consider commencing a process to engage staff and councillors in developing agreed ways of working and values that reflect the Code and Council policies. This may include ways of A. Communicating and engaging with the community on Council decisions and policies, and B. Identifying and managing issues that arise in the course of your duties. 7. That the issues detailed in section 1.3 of this report are acknowledged by Council, in particular the impact of Councillor Irvine's conduct on the health and safety of staff and councillors. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Now I'd like a motion to adopt the motion in regard to report 21.4 from the closed committee of council. Councillor Oliver, move that way. Seconder, Councillor Reinhold. Thank you. Further discussion? Not, I put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Irvine, while you're out of the room, Council has resolved to, under section 440G of the Local Government Act 1993 and under the provisions of 7.37C, 7.46, 7.58C and 7.59 of the procedures for the administration of the Code of Conduct, officially and formally censure and refer to the Officer of Local Government, Councillor Anthony Irvine, for further action under the misconduct provisions of the Local Government Act in relation to an email that Councillor Irvine sent on the 4th of August 2023, which was found to be in breach of the following clauses of the Code of Conduct by an independent investigator. Clause 3.1A of the Code is that the email on the 4th of August 2023 is likely to have brought the Council and Council officials into disrepute. Clause 3.1B of the Code is that the email on the 4th of August 2023 did not represent accurately, fairly or impartially the decisions or actions of Council officers. Clause 3.1G and E of the Code is that the email of 4th of August 2023 could be considered intimidatory and constitute harassment. 2. Under section 440G of the Local Government Act 1993 and under the provisions of 7.37B, 7.6, 7.46, 7.56B and 7.59 of the procedures for the administration of the Code of Conduct, officially and formally censure Councillor Anthony Irvine in relation to Facebook posts on the 22nd of August 2023 on Councillor Irvine's Stand Up for Temora Facebook page, which was found to be in breach of Council's social media policy and the following Code of Conduct clauses by an independent investigator. Clause 3.1A of the Code is that the Facebook post is likely to have brought the Council into disrepute. Clause 3.1B of the Code is that the Facebook post did not represent accurately, fairly or impartially the decisions and reasonings of the councillors. Further, that he is acting in breach of Council's social media policy. Clause 3.1E and G of the Code is that the Facebook post on the 22nd of August 2023 being made publicly could be considered intimidatory and constitute harassment. And further, that the following be noted. 3. The General Manager seek a voluntary undertaking from Councillor Irvine to ensure his Facebook page, Stand Up for Temora, complies with Council's social media policy, in particular that its house rules and moderation policies are effective. 4. The General Manager seek a voluntary undertaking from Councillor Irvine that he will remove the post the subject of the investigation. 5. The General Manager counsel and provide appropriate support and guidance to Councillor Irvine in respect to complying with Council's media and social media policies. 6. That the General Manager consider commencing a process to engage staff and councillors in developing agreed ways of working and values that reflect the Code of and Council's policies. This may include ways of A. Communicating and engaging with the community on Council decisions and policies, and B. Identifying and managing issues that arise in the course of your duties. 7. That the issues detailed in section 1.3 of this report are acknowledged by Council, in particular the impact of Councillor Irvine's conduct on the health and safety of staff and councillors. Thank you, councillors. I will now hand the meeting back to the Mayor.
Thank you very much, councillors. We now need a motion. No? Oh, done. Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Well, there being no further business for this council, I thank you very much for your attendance and I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.